The EU Ombudsman has demanded the European Commission explain a top official flights paid for by Qatar. It comes as the bloc is grappling with a bribery scandal linked to the Gulf state. The head of the EU's transport department travelled a number of times between 2015 and 2021 to Qatar at the expense of Qatari authorities. The visits occurring as his department was involved in negotiating an air transport deal with the Gulf state. Let's cross now to Dave Keating in Brussels. Dave, why has the EU Ombudsman made this request?
Well, to say the least, this looks very bad from the outside. So this all kicked off last week when an investigation by Politico found that Henrik Hololai, who's the head of the European Commission's Transport Department, had accepted 6 paid-for flights during this period that the European Commission was negotiating an aviation deal with Qatar that would give Qatar Airways access to slots at EU airports and give EU airlines access to slots at Qatar airports. Now, initially last week, the Commission says all normal procedures were followed here, that this was deemed to be not a conflict of interest. But this really exploded yesterday when the Commission had to admit the person that signed off on this travel that would have decided there was no conflict of interest was apparently Henrik Hololai himself. That's the normal procedure here at the Commission. And so there's a lot of questions being asked. Emily O'Reilly, the EU's ombudsman, sent a letter to Commission President von der Leyen demanding some clarification on this and asking specifically what are the rules for paid-for travel for Commission officials. It should be noted this is not yet an investigation by the ombudsman, but it could very quickly turn into an investigation. The Commission is still insisting that all normal procedures were followed, and they've pointed out that Hololai himself was not conducting the negotiations for that aviation deal. That would have been another department in the Commission. However, of course, the Transport Department would have been heavily involved in those negotiations. We don't know exactly what he was going to Qatar for, but it looks like it was probably for conferences. It is standard for conference organizers to pay for people who are on panels at that conference for their accommodation and for their transport. I think the question is being asked, is that really appropriate for a government official, especially when that government is negotiating a deal with the people paying for and putting on that conference? So certainly this isn't going away anytime soon. And in the context of the larger Qatargate scandal involving the other EU institution, the European Parliament, down the road, this isn't going away anytime soon. Journalists are keeping the tough line in the Commission on this.
And you mentioned there the Qatargate inquiry. Is this at all connected to that?
It's not. It's only connected in that it's also involving Qatar, and I think that's why it's getting so much attention. There is no link here with the bribery allegations that are happening in the European Parliament and the ongoing criminal investigation and trials in that. So the update on that is that there have now been 3 sitting MEPs arrested. Most notoriously, it's Eva Kaili, the former vice president of the European Parliament. But last month, 2 additional MEPs were arrested after having their immunity lifted. That's Belgian MEP Mark Tarabella and Italian MEP Andrea Cozzolino. They are also under arrest awaiting trial. There's a third person, a former Italian MEP Pier Antonio Panzeri, who is also in jail awaiting trial, but he has agreed to cooperate with authorities. So as we await for the trials in that case, we're waiting to see what Panzeri is going to say about all these other MEPs and the various other people involved in this. The basic allegation is that they were taking money in order to influence EU policy to be favorable toward Qatar. There do seem to be other countries now being ensnared in this whole investigation, including Morocco. So that is also a story that has legs. For the moment, though, we don't have any indication that anyone beyond these 3 sitting MEPs is implicated. But this investigation, since it kicked off in December, has had a habit of surprising us since it all exploded.
Dave Keating reporting there from Brussels. Thank you.